Hey everyone, welcome back to the Figgy Pop Culture channel. This is JD, and this past weekend was Phoenix Fan Fusion. This is the event that's, our top Comic Con here in Phoenix. And you know what? This year was kind of a mixed bag of things. But before I dive into my qualms and complaints about the convention, in this video, I'm going to break up different things that I saw at the convention. We're going to take a tour of the comic book creators, Artist Alley, the creators market, the books and author section, the actual exhibit hall, the autograph section, where the cosplayers hang out, and the gaming exhibitors section too. And we're also going to cover some of the panels I was able to see this year at Phoenix Fan Fusion. And then we're going to wrap it up a little bit of cosplays at the very end. And you know what? And then after all that, I'll give my 2 cents on what I thought about the convention, and so that way you guys can make your decision if you'll be coming to Phoenix Fan Fusion next year. All right, let's go ahead and jump into my tour of Phoenix Fan Fusion. So here we are walking to Phoenix Fan Fusion. This is like every year. I've been going to Phoenix Fan Fusion way back in the early 2000s when it was called Cactus Con, and around that time. So, and it's grown so much over the years. As we head down the escalator to where the exhibit hall is, you will notice right here we have the Atari Hotel. Now this is pretty crazy. This hotel was actually supposed to be built several years ago, and then funding stopped around the pandemic in 2020. All right. Okay, now we're going to enter into the exhibit hall. We're actually entering from the comic book creator side, and let's just go ahead and go inside. As we enter the convention center, I'm just going to kind of explain everything that we're seeing here in the convention center. All right, first up, we actually are going to take a tour of the comic book creator section. All right, first thing we see here on our left, we have Paul Dini, the creator of Harley Quinn. So that's really cool to see his booth here. And as we continue further on, and straight ahead of us, we have one of the most popular X-Men creators, Chris Claremont, right there in front. So that's really cool. And with that, we'll kind of just stroll down comic book creator lane and just kind of take a look at all the different comic book creators that are here, showcasing their work. They're doing sketches, they're doing autographs, you name it, they're just doing it all here, and it's really cool. And some of them just want to talk, because we did sit down and talk to quite a bit of them while we were here. All right, and right after the comic book creators, right here at the very end, is actually the cosplay section. So we have like Billy Bolt here, who sells a lot of his cosplay supplies. He was one of the judges at the Masquerade. Oh, and then my wife was also able to talk to this creator too and get some information on how she builds a lot of her cosplay. So that's really cool. So let's go ahead and listen to this.
So this is Steve, and this is Ebits. As you can see, Ebits is the good one. He behaves. And he vapes appropriate. Love that.
So cool. Can I get back to see that one a little bit too?
Yeah. You turn that off. All of this detail on here was actually hand drawn, then traced onto the silver fabric, and then hand cut out. There was no Cricut or cutting machine involved, just this, and my neck still hurts.
Wow, I love that. And this is you?
Yep, that is me.
All right, now that we're done with the cosplay section, we're just gonna kind of just finish up right here, going down the comic creator section before we head on to the next section of the exhibit hall. I really do love this artwork. These are like movie poster quality. It's pretty cool. After this, we actually kind of ran into two of the Power Rangers. Yep. The second Red Ranger and the second Yellow Ranger. So Aisha and Rocky. That's really neat. All right. Now we're going to head on over to Artist Alley, and this is where you can get pretty much a lot of prints and stuff from all the different artists here that are attending here at Phoenix Fan Fusion. So after you're done with our salad, you want to head on over to the food court. Of course, this is one of the main ones here in the convention center. There's tons of them. Like I said, one of my pet peeves at Comic Con is that they don't let you bring outside food, so you're kind of subjugated to eating eating at all these food courts that they have here in the convention center. And of course, if you are thirsty, there's always Wild Bills, which is really neat because they do offer refills throughout the day, so you can pay for like a refill card. In addition, if you really want something sweet, of course you gotta get your ice cream here. Alright, on to the next section here. We do have our books and authors section. They do invite a lot of different authors here to Phoenix Fan Fusion, so it's really neat to come over here and check out the books they have for sale, to meet the different authors. You know some of the authors, you actually get them to autograph your books for you or buy their books here and get them autographed. It's a really cool thing to do. So if you're a big reader, it's a pretty cool place. Next up, we have Creators Market, and here you can buy pretty much everything. You have keychains, you have stuffed animals. I like these, they're really funny looking. You get some crochet items like crochet flowers and animals and creatures stuff. There's tons of them here. A lot of crochet things. And remember, no AI. We do not dislike it. Oh wait, I found some stuff that has AI prints on it. That's annoying. And if you are a fan of fidget toys, they have a bunch of these little clickers here. You know, these right here are from K-pop Demon Hunter. Yeah, they do light up too. See? That's really cool. And here we have the Pokeball Terranium. Next up, we do have a bunch of stickers that are based off memes. So, if you're a meme person like me, these are really cool to get your hands on. go to Candy Mountain, Charlie. All right, now this person here does all the metal work. They're at every convention, and yeah, these are pretty awesome. I love the way these look. I wish one day I could afford one of these. And unfortunately, like at every convention, there is tons of 3D printed items. This is really crazy because there's little clickers, little fidget toys, the darn dragons. Some of them are pretty cool looking, and others, you know, like the little boo boo here, kind of neat. But then you get these dragons, and they're just everywhere, everywhere. And it's really annoying. We're gonna sit here and watch them build Rocky here. Get down with your bad self, T-Rex. Again, like I said, just tons of fidget toys, tons of 3D printed items. You cannot get away from them. But like I said, some of these do look pretty cool. I do like some of those Ninja Turtles out there. They look really neat. They're better than just all those dragons. And of course you get swole ducks. Yep, these are all 3D printed. Oy. I do like that Falcor though. I kind of want a 3D printed Falcor, to be honest. I don't want one of those. No, not at all. Don't want the wands either. Nope. I don't know who asked for those. I do like the D&D dice. They're kind of fun little fidget toys. Alright, and we'll continue walking through the convention center, and we got, you know, stuff like your mystery boxes here on the right. Now this is really cool. Roosevelt's actually here at Phoenix Fan Fusion. I believe this is the first time I've ever been to. I believe this is the first time they've ever been here. And that's really cool because these are geek shirts. So it's really cool to see a big company like this. And that's not the only big company that was here too. Rokimoto is here also. Go Rokimoto! This is the creation of Funmaker Mike Becker, the original creator of Funko. Yeah, this is his new toy company. And they were here at Phoenix Fan Fusion, so that's really cool to see them here. Unfortunately, nobody else from Rokimoto was here. So no Mike Becker and no AJ McLean, so oh well. As you can tell, they sold out of all the Godzilla figures. And they went really quick. Alright, we'll just continue walking through the convention center where we can kind of check out some of the other stuff they have here. You know, it wouldn't be a comic book convention without comic books. You know, and that's what comic book conventions were originally for, comic books. It is so sad to see very few here. Alright, this D&D booth on the left is actually one of my favorite booths to go check out. So we'll kind of go around it a little bit, check it out. Alright, like I said, there's plenty of mystery boxes. Here's one of the biggest mystery box booths here at Phoenix Fan Fusion. There's also cosplay items. You got your swords on the left. Several anime statues there too. Misty Mountain Gaming is here also. These guys are at every convention. It's ridiculous. Gallery Panda, the more art prints here. I do like the way these looks are pretty cool. And as we continue forward, we got some more headbands. And these hairpins are everywhere at this convention. Hey look, Zia Records. I love going to Zia Records. One of my favorite stores here in the Valley. Like I mentioned earlier, D&D is a big part of Phoenix Fan Fusion. And so there is tons of D&D items here you can find. And you can find some artists here, like this one here, who does like this realistic paintings of Disney characters. It's really cool. We have a couple of prints in our collection right now too. And you got other artists here from Monte Michael Moore here. And then this one right here, this booth here, there's tapestries are from the Last Unicorn. There was so much Last Unicorn in that booth. I didn't even know they made so much. Again, more 3D printed helmets. And we have more weapons on the left. And like I told you, weapons are everywhere here. You have swords and daggers and you name it. Just like all over the convention center. And those weird purple things, I don't know where they're from. They're from some anime. If you do know where they are, let me know in the comment section down below. Look, Thundercat sword. And on top of weapons, you can actually get a lot of lightsabers here. There is a ton of different lightsaber booths, like this one, and this one, and this one. And of course, Ultra Sabers is always here every year. This is where I got one of my swords a few years back, and I do have a video with me and my son actually opening up a mystery box from Ultra Sabers from last year's Phoenix Fan Fusion. And why is this Fuzi sock company here? They're everywhere. They're in every grocery store, everywhere. And they also get their own booth here. It's just ridiculous, if you ask me. And sometimes you're just exhausted. Now, these Sideshow collectible statues are really cool. I'm trying to give you guys a closer look at some of the ones they have here. And you can always get plenty of t-shirts here at Phoenix Fan Fusion. I mean, there are plenty of t-shirt booths. And if you're looking to get Phoenix Fan Fusion merch, here we go. Here's the comic book based off the characters and the mascots of Phoenix Fan Fusion. So you come and get merch there from here. And like I said, got more comic books for everybody to read. And there's plenty of little mystery boxes. And there's plenty of little blind box items here. There were so many booths of blind boxes. And, you know, if you're kind of tired of actually shopping for stuff, you could always get a tattoo. I don't know who gets tattoos at Comic Cons. I think that's so weird, but that's just my opinion. All right, we're gonna finish up here, going down the aisles. On the left, you can see some more cool prints, and on the right, you'll see it is Misty Mountain. And got some Dungeon Crawler Carls here. We got some Dungeon Crawl Carls here. But I do like a lot of their stuff here at this booth. This Misty Mountain is known for its D&D stuff and some of its other items, and these look so cool. And when you're done with that, got some giant stuffed animals. On Sunday, these were like buy one, get one half off, which is really cool. And you cannot forget about what Comic-Con is really about. Comic books. This year, they actually had a lot more comic book sellers here, and that's just so amazing. So there's plenty to choose from. Some at really good prices too. Some very reasonable prices, a lot of these. That one of Wolverine up there in the top corner, that had 5K at one point during the weekend. I wonder what it is goes for now. Some 1K pop, some 1K, and those Ninja Turtle ones, those Power Ranger ones in the back for 250. The only reason why they're that much is because they're actually autographed too. What I noticed this year at most of the comic book booths, there were tons of $1 comics, which is really awesome. $1 to $2 comics. You don't see that much often, so that's really cool. And now we're going up to Samurai Comics here. This is a local Arizona store, and also they were selling comics, but a lot of toys and stuff like that. I'm a big supporter of shopping local, and Samurai Comics is one of the bigger comic book stores here in Arizona. Also, Toy Anxiety. This is another great store here in Arizona. I love shopping there. I actually found them out because they were actually a big Funko Pop toy store here in Arizona before they made the switch over to more than just Funko Pops. Oh, there's a ghoul. And Ghostface. Alright, and then Retro Exchange, another amazing local store here. A lot more retro toys, a lot more older toys, more vintage collectibles, and they also have their new stuff there too. But yeah, this is another local Arizona store. Amazing people. I've actually met a lot of them at different toy shows here in the valley. I've actually met a lot of them here at different toy shows in the valley. And of course, you have Collector's Marketplace. This was one of my top shopping spots in Phoenix back in the day. Haven't been there in a long time. They mainly do a lot of anime statues and stuff like that. So if you're a big fan of that, I would say check them out. And we're just going to kind of walk down the halls again and kind of finish up our little tour of Phoenix Fan Fusion. Check out those clothes. They're pretty cool looking. Alright. We got some more statues. We got the rugs here on the right. Those are all handmade rugs. Really cool. Got one of the designer. Well, I don't know what he does. Scratch that. More sketches. More comic books. Stickers. I like these terraniums right here. They're like Pokemon. So like skeletons of Pokemon. They're actually really cool. More Harry Potter wands. Some Harry Potter wands. Really cool. And this guy over here is selling fans. Just crazy. Alright, now we're off into the autograph section, the autograph hall. And this is where you'll meet all your celebrities. So everybody but John Cena was down here. So, yeah. I'll put a list up here. I'll show you guys the quick shots on the side of some of the celebrities that were here at Phoenix Fan Fusion. We did meet Steve Burns here the other day, which is really cool. I did meet Steve Burns here. Me and my wife did meet Steve Burns, and we got one of our Funko Pops signed by him. Misha Collins was supposed to be right there, but he was already gone for the day. Alright, we got, of course, the Army is always here at Phoenix Fan Fusion. Alright, this is a fun, cool story. Zobi right here, this was actually one of the very first companies I actually did like a collab box opening with of some of their mystery boxes. when I first started out on TikTok. That's so cool. And now we're just kind of just wind down here, and there's more voice actors here doing autographs. So tons of voice actors are over here. So if you're looking to get some autographs, Phoenix Fan Fusion is a great place to be. As we're heading back up to the main floor, you may notice a few things, like the giant Eevee. On the first floor in the first building, there is a kids section, so you have all your stuff for the kids to hang out and play, like the Lego rooms, arts and crafts, stuff like that. But as we continue back into the main building, that's where you'll find your actual panels for all their exhibits. But first, we're gonna have to take a little moment and just admire this giant Lego diorama. Yeah, we have a bunch of different cosplayers here. You have the cosplayers that are associated with Star Trek, the Transformer cosplayers, the Brown Coats, the Raccoon City, which are zombie cosplayers. You have our Halo cosplayers. And as we come across center, this is where they have the STEM area. And these are all the colleges. This is where like ASU and some other campuses are actually putting on displays for kids and like science experiments and bringing animals and real fossils and stuff like that. So kids can actually learn about some really cool stuff of our history. All right, we'll go back into the actual cosplay area again. And of course, we have the infamous Doctor Who cosplay area. And it appears to be we have Jessica Rabbit and Roger Rabbit hanging out in the TARDIS. That's crazy. Okay, let's get on next on to the next section. We have our Marvel and our DC area. And we come over to the main section, which is the Star Wars section. This is pretty cool. Is that we do get to see some of the Star Wars like sets they have out for the cosplayers. But yeah, it's pretty neat. We got playing cards of the different cosplayers here, and hey, we got a Tauntaun. We got some Jawa's shops. We got a bar. We got classic photo ops that you could be taking with different cosplayers. I filmed this on Sunday, so a lot of the cosplayers are already done for the day. But all this section would have different types of cosplayers throughout the whole weekend. And as we ended up on the far right, right after I passed the Star Wars section, was actually the wrestling arena, where they would have the wrestlers come out and wrestle. Unfortunately, again, I filmed this on Sunday, and that section was already closed. All right, let's go ahead and look at the different panel rooms. Oh wait, what's this? All right, you see a blue outline door. You just gotta walk through it, don't you? All right, here I go. Looks like I've entered the back rooms of Phoenix Fan Fusion. All right, let's go ahead and walk around. But pretty much all of these panel rooms are filled with panels from different categories, such as fantasy, games, movies, horror, sci-fi, writing, stuff like that, all scattered out throughout the convention center. So if you're interested in any of those things, then this is a great place to come. Check out all the different panels. And they're not just on this floor, it goes up all 3 floors. There's actual panels going on. In the back rooms of Phoenix Fan Fusion, of course, you do see people in costumes. And you do see Batman, which were not on purpose following down the hallway. I think it's pretty funny. All right, it's time to get out of the back rooms. Let's go ahead and let's exit. All right, I made it out of the back rooms. I'm back on the 3rd floor now. You know what? That is probably the best way to travel when you're inside Phoenix Fan Fusion is travel to the back rooms. Because I don't have to wait on 2 different escalators to get up to the 3rd floor. And I didn't have to do it this time. Here we are on the 3rd floor. We're just going to enter on the bridge. And on this bridge, you can check out some amazing views of Phoenix, Arizona from both sides. So when you're here on the bridge, there are 2 different options for you. You can either go see the panels, which we did here. Okay, so I'm going to jump into the panels we saw. We'll start off with... so I'll start off with a clip from Kevin Smith. Then we'll have a clip of Rhys Davies, George Takei, Steve Burns, and I'll show a clip from one of my favorite cosplayers from the Masquerade on Saturday night.
There was somebody at the convenience store I stopped to get a drink on the way here. The person at the convenience store was younger. And generally younger people don't know who the fuck I am. But this one did kind of. He goes, did you, because I was dressed like this, he goes, did you have something to do with those Clark's movies? Dreams that I had when I was a kid. Very important to never let go of your dreams. I don't care how the fuck old you are. Particularly now, as the world becomes more and more of a nightmare, and every time you open up the news, you're like, what the fuck, I don't recognize this country anymore. You gotta hold on to your dreams. Dream of a day of going to a different fucking version of this country. Dream of a fucking time when you get to do the thing you want to do instead of fucking trying to figure out how to make it into the evening. Dream of the day where you can get what you want to get off your chest, off your fucking chest and say, dream of having a family. It's my father used to do. I remember talking to my dad when I was like 18, 19, 20. I said to my dad, like, Dad, what did you want to do when you were a kid? What did you dream about? And he goes, what do you mean? I was like, well, you know, I dreamed about being a filmmaker. What did you dream about? And he goes, well, I dreamed about getting married and having kids. And I was like, oh. I was like, so your dreams came true real young? He goes, yeah. And I was like, that's nice. And inside, I remember quietly judging him, going, big fucking deal. Like, anyone can get married and have kids. Like, this is why he works at the post office. No ambition whatsoever. Now, years later, as a 55-year-old man, my father was one of the smartest people I ever met. He wasn't cursed with ambition. He wasn't sitting there going, how can I make my mark and be relevant to a bunch of strangers for a living? All he cared about was his fucking family and caring for those people and shit like that. So his dream came true at a young age. When I was young, man, I dreamed, you know, it was kind of stupid and shit, but this was my biggest dream when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I dreamed one day they would open up a 24-hour convenience store in my hometown. Cumberland Farms would close at 10 o'clock every night and shit. And it never occurred to me that that was a problem until one day I went, when I was young, 9, 10 years old, I went out to the city with my cousins and we went to like a midnight movie. So when the movie got out, it's like fucking 12:30 in the morning, and we were able to go to a fucking bodega. They took me to a bodega and shit, and we got soda at fucking 12:30 in the morning. I was like, this is fucking civilization, man. We have this in Jersey, it's fucking nuts and shit. I dreamed about going to be able to buy milk and bread at age 11 at 2 in the morning. So the whole time I lived in the Highlands, my dream never came true, man. I never had a 24-hour convenience store. And I moved out of Highlands and after I made Clark's and shit. And then, post-COVID, when they were reopening the world, Quick Check, a convenience store company, built a convenience store, a 24-hour convenience store on the hill in my hometown, which just goes to show you that if you're patient enough, every dream you have can become true. Now, you may go like, how does that help you? You don't fucking live there anymore. You don't get to fuck with your convenience store. You do bullshit. I do, because as previously mentioned, I go to screenings all the time at Smart Castle Cinemas. And Smart Castle is 3 miles away from that Quick Check convenience store that's open all night in Highland. Smart Castle's in Atlantic Island, but Quick Check convenience is Highland. So whenever I finish my screenings and stuff like that, we'll have screening, do a Q&A. I get this little ritual now where I get in my car, drive over to that convenience store in the wee hours in the morning, and get to live my fucking childhood dream of walking in and buying something at fucking 12:30. So this just happened fairly recently, and we did a screening of Clerks 3 at Smart Castle. I don't know if you've seen Clerks 3, but the review that I read for this movie the most online goes something like this. It was a Friday night, and I was just looking to laugh with a fun comedy. So I put in Clerks 3. Fuck you to death. Hashtag justice for Dante. So we had a screening of Clerks 3 at Smart Castle. And then afterwards we did a Q&A at which everyone was fucking spiraling into an existential crisis. And I was like, good night, everybody. And then I got in my car and drove over to Atlantic Islands to live my fucking childhood dream, go get something at the convenience store. And what I do after every screening, I go over there, I buy a can of Celsius, and then I sit in the car and I drink it. I think about the screening, how it went and shit. I think about what I have to do tomorrow. Then I think about the entire journey, how long it took me to go from a kid right there in Highlands to like sitting in that parking lot where only a few miles away, me and my friends own the movie theater that I grew up going to. You know, it's nice to be mindful and be like, oh shit, I'm still on the journey, gotta recognize. So we finished our Clerks 3 screening. Everybody was fucking glum, real glum. I said, good night, everybody. I got in the car and I drove over to Quick Check. And I walk in at like 12:30, 12:45 in the morning, man. Living my fucking childhood dream, being able to go to a convenience store in my hometown past fucking, you know, in the midnight hour. So I walk in, nobody's there except one fucking drunk guy who's at the deli counter and he's trying to order a sandwich off the digital board. The only problem is there is no digital board. He thinks he's in a Wawa, but he is not. So he's just punching the glass on the deli counter, which is closed, so all the lights are off. He's never getting his fucking sandwich. So I go look for the fucking help, like behind me at the registers, going, you guys seeing this shit? And that's when I see the weirdest fucking thing. There's nobody working behind the fucking counter, nobody in the registers, it's just a sign. And the sign says, scan yourself out, because they had scanning technology. And I was like, well, this would be Clerks 4. No more people, just two machines beeping at each other. Probably about Star Wars.
See, in life, you don't want to get in. You don't want to get in the habit in life of looking back at what you've done and thinking, oh, I was good there, oh, I was wonderful there, that was the best thing I've done. Always look forward. Live in the present and look forward. How old are you now? 11 is very old. It's down the old way now. But what would you like to do in your life? That's all right. Not everybody knows what they'd like to do, even when they're 25 or 50 sometimes. Sons, are you listening? Look, let me tell you the great secret of life. Well, actually, there are two, and you're far too young for the second one. But the great secret of life is this. Be nice to people. Don't be shy. Shyness is a form of vanity. If I come on this stage and think about myself, being shy now, and I come on the stage and see all you people looking at me, and I think, oh gosh, put my tummy in, gotta stand up straight. Is the tummy straight? Oh goodness me. Oh, I've got too much stuff in my pocket. What if they don't like me? If I start thinking like that, I can't do anything. My job is to assume that all of you are a bit scared of me, and my job is to make you feel comfortable. In life, never go into an exam or a new school or anything like that. Switch it round in your head. It's not everybody looking at you and saying, oh, why is she wearing those silly slacks, shoes on, and it's not that. Imagine that all of them are shy and thinking you are judging them, and make life easy for them. The prizes in life actually go to people who make life easy when they talk to strangers. And all of us are strangers in a strange way. So be nice. You know, say hi, hello, good morning, good evening. That's a fabulous dress you're wearing. That's a silly old skirt you were wearing. Oh, no, don't do that, don't do that. But you see what I mean? Just make things easy for those around you. And you will rise to the top of any job with duty. That is the one universal thing for success. I managed to avoid the question rather well. Thank you. Nancy Grace Roman is a telescope with a 300 megapixel imager. That is a lot more than you've got in your very good camera. It's out there and it's a wide field telescope. It can image a huge amount of space with the accuracy of the great Hubble Space Telescope. Its purpose is threefold. One, to see if there is evidence and what is the nature of dark energy and dark matter. The second thing, it will, in the course of its life, image hundreds of thousands of Earths, what we call exoplanets. And that may lead us to actually see whether there is real life elsewhere in the universe. And thirdly, it is going to make a 3D map of the entire not the galaxy, of the universe. This is the most ambitious thing that mankind has ever done. And you live in glorious times where these things are happening. The launch will probably be in the first week of September. And if it goes up, and if it's successful, then it will partly replace the dying Hubble, which is falling out of the sky. But then the next thing, as a result of the observations of the James Webb and this telescope, the next thing that we need is a really big, new, concentrated telescope in space. And that will be the Habitable Worlds Observatory by about 2040. And by then we will be able to really see whether there is life elsewhere in the universe and to find habitable planets. This is the purpose. The purpose and the money for this is coming from your American nation. You are the greatest explorers in science that the world has ever seen. Be very proud of your nation. Be very proud of the glory of mankind that is NASA. I cannot tell you how much the rest of the world admires you for that. Well done.
Bless your hearts, I see people that are qualified to be older than Star Trek. I can tell by the color of the hair, or the absence of it. Thank you all very much. And I think we all are in agreement that Star Trek was an extraordinary, unusual, and substantial show. It talked about the future, the 23rd century, and Gene Roddenberry, who created the show, was a person who had high hopes, positive hopes about the future. He placed it in the year 23rd century, 3 centuries ahead of us. And by that time, he said, we will have overcome the chaos and confusion and the hate of our times. He wanted to make a statement that by the 23rd century, there are people that have different stories to tell and different experiences that shape them. So I would tell them, know people, know diversity, know the value of diversity, and get to know each other so that there won't be a problem. I love you all. I know you're all different. And my hubby is from Phoenix, Arizona. And, I'm here in this room, waiting to say hello to all my friends here. You should be their friends as well. But your question is
My favorite lesson, or not about favorite, but the lesson that's most meaningful to me in my life was that Steve from Blues Clues was not afraid to ask for help. That was his whole jam. You know, on the show, I mean, I was a dude who couldn't tell the difference between shapes and colors. It was very important to me that you helped me. And it wasn't simply to see the show, it was that Steve needed you. Steve needed something, you know? And that's a hard thing to do in grown-up life. And I don't have to tell people what I know every single one knows exactly what I'm talking about. And it wasn't until I did that in my life that my life changed. Because a lot of people don't know this. But while I was filming Blues Clues as a younger man, I was also dealing with severe undiagnosed clinical depression. And I was 21, 22 years old. I didn't understand what was going on. You know, I just knew that my job was really hard. Like, it was really hard to do that stuff some days. You know? So I just kind of fought my way through it forever, which is a terrible strategy. And it wasn't until I sat down in a chair and looked at someone and said, will you help me? That all of that began to change. So that's the real channel. That's the real team. That's the big lesson I learned from Steve. You know, asking for help is not about weakness. It's actually a confrontation and acting with courage.
I don't know who you are or where you came from, but you better hope that fancy suit packs a fire extinguisher.
They do have some other like creator market items in here, which is very fascinating because, you know, a lot of these things are also on the first floor. So a lot of these booths will have 2 booths, one on the first floor, one on the 3rd floor. So you may see a lot of the doubles here. I think this is like the 4th or 5th booth for Misty Mountain Gaming. Like I said, they have quite a bit of booths here at Phoenix Fan Fusion. Nothing says Phoenix Fan Fusion than American Virtual Warehouse. Even though it sounds like I'm bad-mouthing Misty Mountain Gaming, they do have a great collection of dice. I'll leave them here so you can just kind of enjoy the craftsmanship that they have for their dice. You can never have enough bags of holding. Who's that I see? Oh, it's my wife. She's waving at me. And there she goes. She's been helping me out a lot with a lot of the filming of the close-ups of a lot of these booths throughout the whole weekend. Thank you, honey, for helping out so much. I really do appreciate it. Alright, over here at this booth, my wife actually picked up a calcifer magnet from here. Calcifer is like her spirit animal kind of thing. So yeah. Found me a Garfield Luffy. And of course, a 3D printed duck that he's part Kraken, I believe. All right, these miniatures were really cool. I think most of them were 3D printed, but man, they were hand painted and everything. They looked really awesome. Haven't got into the miniature section of our D&D side journey. And then, of course, they have tons of tables here for you guys for all your gaming needs. And there are people here playing D&D and other board games throughout the convention. I don't know why you spend so much money playing a board game at a convention, but you are with like-minded people and you're just having a good time. That's all it is. You're here to have a good time and hang out with like-minded people. Alright, we're going to just finish up our video with some of the cosplayers I took photos of here at Phoenix Fan Fusion. And then I'm going to just kind of wrap it up after this, just kind of show you kind of a shot of what it looks like from the second floor of the convention center. I took these videos on Saturday evening, so the lines aren't as crazy, but trust me, Saturday morning, the lines were ridiculous. So that pretty much wraps up the little walkthrough of Phoenix Fan Fusion. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Now I'm going to go into my 2 cents on what I thought of the actual experience there this year. All right, guys. So that was Phoenix Fan Fusion. Yeah, like I said, I do have some qualms with this convention because I have been going to Phoenix Fan Fusion for so long, you know? And what's weird is that they've made so many different changes and rules for the convention that it just kind of loses its spark and it just kind of gets really messy. For example, well, before I go into my negatives, let's go on my positives. You know, they had an amazing list. We had pretty much the whole cast of Critical Role here this year. We had a pretty much almost the whole cast of Supernatural. They did honor the issue that they had with Kevin Smith last year, where he had to cut his panel short. So this year, anybody that was at his panel who got into his panel, but because he had to cut his panel short, we all got early access to his panel this year. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, the exhibit hall was really nice on Friday and Sunday, and more seating spaces. But it's kind of where I'm going to leave it there with good stuff. The bad stuff was this year, I don't know, it seemed very disorganized for the convention. So what do I mean by that? I noticed the line management this year was horrendous. They had a horrible job keeping the lines together. Either outside the panel where I said the lines were wrapping around the building and took some people 2 to 3 hours to go through security. This is a pet peeve of mine. This is something I just find annoying. And this is actually rules of the convention center and not the actual Phoenix Fan Fusion. And it sucks that you can't bring outside food into the convention center or have food on you, because when I go to Comic Cons, like San Diego Comic Con, stuff like that, I'll bring little snacks like protein bars and stuff like that so I can eat throughout the day as I'm walking through the convention center. The staff, the security staff, you know, for the most part, most of them were amazing and great. But man, there are some staff members who get power hungry and just love to yell at you. That's really annoying. Yeah, because you walk up, you would think if you had a security guard, you would ask them a question about where to get in line or, you know, stuff like that. You did not expect to be yelled at, you know? And it actually like soured a lot of the experience. Another thing with the convention, you saw in my video, there were just so many booths this year of things that looked very dropship like. There were so many 3D printed booths. I think in my video, in the video I showed like 4 or 5 of them, but there's way more than that. That's super annoying. I mean, 1 or 2, but it gets ridiculous. I think it's Mystic Mountain, which is one of the D&D companies in the video. They had like 8 or 9 booths in that convention center. Sound the same thing. I mean, it's not a very big convention center, and when you can go down 3 aisles and you see the same company, that's very disheartening. They really crammed Artist Alley and Creator Market all together, which made it impossible to walk down those aisles, especially on Saturday during their busiest day. And just the number of non comic book or businesses that were there promoting stuff. I mean, I know American Furniture was one of the sponsors and doing a lot of the furniture for the panels and stuff like that. I get why they were there. Luckily, they only had one real booth, whereas in past years they had like 3 or 4 booths. So I'm okay with that one. It's not as much. What was another? There was another booth that I was complaining about. Yeah, there were like window companies and like solar companies in there and roofing companies. You know, I don't know. It takes away the fun and the magic if you're being hounded by salespeople who are trying to sell you on new windows or hey, when do you need a new roof and stuff like that throughout the convention. That ugh, I hate those people. I hate running those people at stores and everything like that. But to run them at the comic book convention as you're walking by, even the people in there who are having to sign petitions that are walking around the convention center, that's annoying too. Because you'll be in the exhibit hall and then some random person will stop you and go, "Hi, would you like to sign my petition for blah 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 blah?" No, that's not what Comic Con was for. And I don't know how they even got in because I could have sworn there was a rule against having people do that inside the convention center. But they were inside the convention center. You may even see them in some of the videos walking around with their clipboards. So that's Phoenix Fan Fusion. If you guys are looking forward to coming to Phoenix Fan Fusion, remember it does take place in the summer in Arizona. It is hotter than F out here. So you want to make sure you bring, oh, that's that thing. Can't bring water bottles in here into the event center. So you got to bring empty water bottles. It's so annoying. But make sure you're bringing an empty water bottle so you can refill at all the filling stations throughout the convention center. Otherwise, you're paying $10 for a drink. So that wraps up Phoenix Fan Fusion 2026. Yeah, like I said, I did have an amazing time at Phoenix Fan Fusion. There were a lot of good things, a lot of bad things, but overall, I did really enjoy myself. I got some really cool things autographed, like a Steve Burns Funko Pop, which I actually don't have here with me right now, and some other merchandise that me and my wife picked up at Phoenix Fan Fusion. What I want to hear from you guys is, did you go to Phoenix Fan Fusion this year? What are some things you liked? What are some of the things you disliked? What are some things you were upset by? Let me know in the comment section down below. And until next time, remember to hit the like, the subscribe, the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a new video is posted. And until next time, guys, this is JD with the Figgy Pop Culture Channel.